Ladies and gentlemen, this is a very important breaking news. Donald Trump's reciprocal tariff has been blocked by the US court. And this is a very, very big development in the entire trade war. This basically means that trade war has come to an end. Let's watch on and see the implication. Let's go. So right now, Donald Trump's tariff is under fire. This is a developing news. I will give you the headlines right now so that you understand. And tonight, I'll try to go live to catch all this excitement. For sure, I'll go live tonight. I cannot catch exactly a time because it depends what news come out. But I will definitely go live tonight. So remember, hit subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you don't miss it. So as usual, these are my disclaimers. And this is not financial advice, not telling you buy or sell. Let's go. So the US courts have blocked Donald Trump's Liberation Day tariffs. And a federal US court has just blocked on May the 28th US President Donald Trump's Liberation Day tariffs from going to effect, ruling that the president has overstepped his authority by imposing across-the-board tariffs for imports from nations that sells more to US than they buy. And that's a very, very big news. If this comes true, it basically means the trade war will come to an end. Let's go back to the background for those people who are not familiar. Number one is Donald Trump has proposed since April the 5th, okay, universal tariff of 10%. And there are some reciprocal tariff of some huge magnitude based on the level of deficit that US have with this country. And for China right now, it stands at about 30%. For Mexico and Canada, it has been pulled back, but initially it went up to 25%. And for EU right now, potentially go to 50, that could come on July the 9th. And there's steel tariffs, automobile tariffs, 25%, and electronics as well, and things like that. So there's a lot of tariffs that Donald Trump has slapped, and he had invoked on some emergency law in a case of a country crisis, which now the federal courts have deemed as unconstitutional. So Donald Trump has deemed that this situation of a trade deficit is a national emergency. So he has used that rule to allow him to execute the global tariffs. So he has already planned to reimpose them on 4th of July, which is the US National Day or Liberation Day, to symbolize economic independence, right? The US Independence Day, he intend to implement this and aims to reduce trade deficit with other countries, encouraging domestic manufacturing. So he has actually overstepped some of his boundary, and we'll talk about that in a short while. But if this were to go on, the analyst has projected a potential 6% reduction in long-run GDP, 5% decrease in wages, and so on. And the US household potentially have an up jump in their cost of living, and so on, right? So there's a lot of market volatility, and we have all experienced it. The court has now stepped in. The US Court of International Trade, which is actually a very low-key court, which interestingly, these court judges were actually selected or at least approved by Donald Trump himself. These judges have blocked, okay, Donald Trump's tariff on steel and aluminium. There's a collision of 30 business groups has filed brief opposing these tariffs. So the US courts has basically deemed Donald Trump's attempt to hit the rest of the world with tariffs as exceeding the limit of his presidential powers. Now, these trade policies that the US president has invoked must first be approved by the Congress first. It doesn't mean the Congress won't approve, but Congress have Democrats and Republicans, so there'll be a fight. This thing will draw on for a long while. The courts have found investigation on imports under Section 232 has expired. New tariffs have to have a new approval by the Commercial Department, and Donald Trump has used outdated report from 2018. So under Section 232, President can investigate and take action on import if they threaten national security. So it's questionable whether this threatens national security. And under International Emergency Economic Power Act, the Congress, and only the Congress, have the power to impose tariff, not the president. Now, the president can step in and regulate imports, but not impose a tariff. And this is not legal. based on current trade law. So incidentally, it was three US companies that filed a lawsuit against the Trump administration that basically resulted in this. So if this ban were to happen, then trade can go on. There'll be no more instability. Investor confidence can go up. And we all know that the producers across the world depend on these imports into US for trade, and there'll be no longer all these issues. And this would certainly bring in a lot of stability. A lot of companies like Walmart, Abercrombie and Fitch, Trader Joe, whatever, right? All these big companies require a lot of imports. Oh, by the way, including Apple as well. They will certainly have less uncertainty moving forward. And inflation could be brought down as well, which means Federal Reserve could have more flexibility in its interest rate policy. And the US dollar could appreciate right now against other currency, and maybe we have got some stability in the bond prices as well. So the crude oil prices rose with this news to $65, and we have quite a lot of interesting happening as it goes. As I said, this is a developing news. Things are happening on the fly. The S&P 500 now in the futures market is now borderline 6,000 points. Okay, I've said a few days ago that the S&P 500 could break 6,000 points in a near future. It now comes faster than I expected. So what now? What's next? Now, do you expect Donald Trump to sit there and do nothing? No, Donald Trump don't like to be controlled by law and rules. He has a habit of taking drastic action, but for now, as in now, he bo pian, right? No choice, you got to wait. So the Trump administration, by the books, have to make an appeal to the Court of International Law to unblock these tariffs. The tariffs are now being blocked as a rule, and this would likely be a permanent ruling if the court decide to do so. If the appeal for tariffs are to be unblocked, okay, then they have to go to the federal circuit and things like that. If it doesn't work, they have to go to the Supreme Court. So a lot of matters have to go on and could take on, and this will have to take a long time for this thing to come to pass. So what about the trade negotiation? Well, we don't know, right? Maybe some of the countries suddenly say, forget about all this negotiation. But as it stands right now, I think the negotiation will still go on because all the countries might deem that this thing might come back. Okay, but supposing if the court rules that this is unconstitutional and remove all these trade barriers, and countries will deem that these trade barriers are being removed and permanently, many countries will just then back off, right? So Trump may not get what he wants. So how likely is Trump going to be successful in unblocking all these blocks? So as it stands right now, the media and analysts has deemed that he's unlikely to be unsuccessful in his appeal because his tariff have exceeded his authority under the IEEPA Act, which is International Emergency Economic Powers Act. The long-standing trade deficit are not unusual and extraordinary threat as required by IEEPA. So the court decision, as it stands right now by analysts, is well grounded on legal principle, making it very difficult to unturn. So there is unanimous ruling by a panel of judges that's appointed by Trump himself. So of course he can escalate to the Congress and ask Congress to pass it, but that process is going to take forever. Now, Trump's appeal could succeed if he managed to call a new investigation into the steel and aluminum import under Section 232. He managed to prove that foreign trade practices are part of a large-scale threat against the US, and somehow he managed to prove that all the other trade policies are unfair. And the steel and tariff could take action within 105 days if he managed to prove that the imports have threatened national security, and if he managed to pass a law allowing reciprocal tariffs to be enacted. Okay. Now, the Supreme Court is on his side. If he appeals and the Supreme Court is on his side and reinterprets that the current trade constitution allows Trump to have more power, then you don't need to go to Congress. So all these are very legalistic. We all need to do is to wait and see. So there is an interesting reporter asking about his taco. Okay, his taco. He didn't know that he was referred to as taco. So I think his people don't dare tell him. Taco means Trump always chicken out. So a reporter asked him point blank. I watched an interview. It was quite funny. He said that, Mr. President, some people call you taco, which means TACO, which means Trump always chicken out. Wow, I tell you, he flew into a rage and basically say that I'm doing this as part of negotiation. How can you call me Trump always chicken out? Blah, 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 blah. And then he basically criticized the reporter as a nasty question. Okay. Nah, and things like that, right? So anyway, I think there's a chance that because people are making fun of him, he might just push the limit and make some of these things come to pass so that people are taking more seriously. But as it stands right now, he just got irritated by all these things that are happening. So meanwhile, NVIDIA results has beaten analyst expectation, and the AI giant reported revenue was $44 billion for the quarter. Okay, and for the same period last year was 26 billion. And this has exceeded the analyst expectation of 43 billion. Results are very, very good. He has beaten on the top line and bottom line. And this basically sets the whole stock market on the AI front, to be going very strongly. So this is my take on what's happening. This is a developing news. Things are very fluid, very volatile. We cannot be 100% sure this is going to be the case, but it looks very optimistic. And I use my usual phrase that we got to be cautiously optimistic. Trump is very TL right now. TL is a Hokkien word. You'll go and decide what is it. So I don't think he will let his big project, right? This big, huge project of his be stopped. So he's going to figure out a lot of legalistic way to work around and beat it and try to let his rules continue. But right now, even if can continue, the market already think he taco, which is Trump always chicken out. So they're really not taking his tariff seriously. And right now, the court has deemed his not so serious tariff as illegal. So I think there's a lot of upside. So with quite a high certainty always, I would just say, for sure, the S&P 500 will re-break the 6,000 points and maybe even go to 6,500 points as what the analyst has projected early this year. This is actually faster than what I could imagine. I've actually imagined it will definitely break very soon. I didn't know it's that soon. Plus all the AI boom that's happening right now in a massive way. Okay, if you guys are not caught in the AI wave right now, you guys got to catch up at least on using AI. I'm using AI every day right now. Even my wife, which is a technology dinosaur, has found AI to be extremely useful as a personal assistant. I can say for sure, if you are not catching up with the AI right now, you'll be left behind, okay? And you'll be a dinosaur. So please catch on the AI. I can do another video on it if you want me to. Let me know in the comments, okay? So let me say and repeat again, volatility and sudden shocks are all part and parcel of the stock market game. You just got to get used to it, okay? And how to hold on fast and not panic and bail out. So for sure, tonight I'll do a live stream. It's just too exciting and see how the market reacts, okay? And so remember, hit subscribe and I'll see you tonight. Thank you for watching, okay? And I'll see you in a few hours' time. Bye-bye.